So, hi. For the current session, we're going to be discussing the sources of constitution. So, since we all know that our constitution was basically the advanced version of the Government of India Act, and the drafting committee has, in a way, incorporated the very idea of the Government of India Act along with. I will not just say the very idea. We can just safely say that there have been several ideologies which was clearly derived from the Government of India Act, and there were several other constitutions at the time of framing. They took out or they picked special features or the features which they thought were relevant to our country and then incorporated in our Indian constitution. So with this session, we're going to be trying and discussing that only. So the Constitution of India was a byproduct of the legacy started by the Government of India Act 1931. This was the longest act passed by the British government with 231 sections and 10 schedules. This act had drawn its content from four sources: the report of the Simon Commission, the discussions and deliberation at the Third Roundtable Conference, the White Paper of 1933, and the reports of Joint Select Committee. This act abolished the system of provincial diarchy and suggested the establishment of diarchy at the center and a federation of India consisting of the provinces of the British India and most of the princely state. Most importantly, the Act established the office of the governor. All the executive powers and the authority of the center were vested in the governor. Some features of the Government of India Act were it had federal legislation. The Act suggested that the legislation will have two houses, that is, the Council of the States and the Federal Assembly. The Council of the States was the upper house, which was permanent body with a tenure of 3 years and composed of 260 members, of which 156 were representatives of the British India and 101 of the princely Indian state. The Federal Assembly was the lower house with a tenure expanding up to 5 years, and its composition included 250 representatives of the British India and 125 members from the princely states. Provincial autonomy. This act enabled the provincial government to be responsible only to provincial legislatures and helped them break free from external control and intrusion. It was the establishment of this act that the powers between the center and the provinces were divided in terms of three lists. Number one, that the federal list, 59 items for the center, which had at that time provincial list, which had 54 items for the provinces, and the concurrent list, which had 36 items for both. And the residuary powers were handed over to the viceroy. So moving on to the principles or the changes or the important aspects which were adopted to our constitution from the United Kingdom. So the first and the foremost, we can see a lot of concepts and features of the Indian Constitution have its roots in the Great Britain. Some of these we'll be discussing as we proceed. So the number one thing is parliamentary form of government. In such form of government, the country is governed by a cabinet of ministers led by the prime minister. The prime minister is the head of the government, whereas the president, the nominal head, is the head of the state. The main feature of the parliamentary form of the government is the availability of one or more opposition parties that exist to keep a check on the ruling party and its functioning. Second, the rule of law. This basically states that a state is not governed either by the representative or by the people, but only by the law of the country. This concept of rule of law states that everyone is equal before the law, even the ones making it. Article 14 of the Indian Constitution codifies this rule of law. Then moving on to the idea of a single citizenship. This implies that a person born or migrated to Indian territory can enjoy political and civil rights of India alone and no other country at the same time. Therefore, India does not allow dual citizenship. Indian state also does not recognize the state citizenship, implying that there should not be any demarcation made between the citizens of two or more states within the territory of India. See the concepts of writs. The Supreme Court and the High Courts, has the power to issue writs in order to make right to constitutional remedies. Right to constitutional remedy, Article 32, 35, which are available to the citizens. These are the five writs. Number one, habeas corpus, that means to produce the detained person before the court and release him if the detention is found illegal. Second, mandamus, an order from the Supreme Court or the High Court to a lower court to perform a public duty. The third is certiorari. Certiorari, Supreme Court or High Court issues the writs for quashing the order already passed by an inferior court. Prohibition issued by the Supreme Court or the High Court to a lower court to stop the latter from continuing with the procedures. And the last one is quo warranto, which restrains a person from holding public office he is not entitled to hold. The Indian Constitution provides for these rights in Article 32 and Article 226. Moving on to the features borrowed from the United States of America. So, some features which were borrowed from the USA are fundamental rights. Article 1232 of the Indian Constitution contains all the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are the basic human rights given to the citizens of the country to assure them equal stance in the society. The six fundamental rights are: number one, the right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. Judicial review. The provision of the judicial review gives the judiciary an upper hand in interpreting the Constitution. The judiciary can hence nullify any order by the legislature or the executive if that order is in conflict with the Constitution of the country. We also incorporated the concept of impeachment of the president and the removal of judges from the United States. We borrowed basically. So the Article 61 of the Indian Constitution provides for the impeachment of the president through legislative procedures carried out by the two houses of the parliament. Article 124, subclause 4 of the Indian Constitution and the provisions of the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968 deal with the removal of judges. Then moving on to the features borrowed from the Constitution of Ireland. So the main feature which was borrowed from the Irish Constitution is the provisions of the directive principles of the state policy. The DPSPs are listed in the Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, and it clearly states that if the duty of the state to apply these principles in the process of lawmaking, these are mainly of three categories. And three categories of these principles. Number one is the socialist directives. Second is the Gandhian directives. Third is the liberal and intellectual directive. So the procedure for the nomination of the members to the Rajya Sabha is also borrowed from the Ireland. Moving on to the provisions borrowed by the Canada. So the Canada provisions of a federation with a strong center and with residuary powers of the center, appointment of the state governors by the center, and the advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, all have been borrowed from the Canadian Constitution. Article 248 of the Indian Constitution states that the Parliament has the sole power to make laws regarding any item not mentioned in the Union and the state lists respectively. Article 143 provides for an advisory jurisdiction to the Supreme Court. Under this provision, the President may seek opinion of the Supreme Court on public matters, and the Supreme Court may then further give its opinion after studying the case properly. France. So, like the Indian preamble was borrowed its ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity from the French Constitution. The Indian state came to be recognized as the Republic of India in the lineage of the Constitution of France. Australia. The Constitution of Australia lent us the provisions of the freedom of trade and commerce within the country and between the state. The provisions of the same are laid down in Article 301 to 307 of the Indian Constitution. We also received the provision of the concurrent list and the joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament from Australia. South Africa and Germany, if we look at, while the Constitution of South Africa gave us the provisions of the procedure of amendment and the election of members of the Rajya Sabha, the German Constitution gave us the provision of suspension of fundamental rights during the emergency. These were the major sources of the Constitution. As the father of our Indian Constitution and the chairman of the drafting committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, as to the acquisition that the draft constitution has reproduced a good part of the provisions of the Government of India Act, I make no apologies. There is nothing to be ashamed of in borrowing. It involves no plagiarism. Nobody holds any patent rights in the fundamental ideas of the Constitution. Thank you.